So let me say, I have been clear. Now is the time to get a ceasefire deal and get the hostage deal done.
NOTUS politics reporter Jasmine Wright, Reuters White House correspondent Jeff Mason with us. Welcome, both of you. Thank you. Jasmine, if there is not a deal, ceasefire deal before the DNC, how big of a, threat, problem does the Harris campaign see it as?
Well, I think it is, or it would be rather unfortunate for the campaign. I think that they are really hoping that, or they had hoped that some solution would come before the campaign. Obviously, we know that Chicago is getting ready for a massive amount of protesters. Whether or not that actually actualizes is one thing, but they're certainly getting ready for tens of thousands. I've talked to some of the March for pro-Gaza people there who are really preparing for that. But I think when we're looking at that change of tone, I think we saw kind of a recalibration from the vice president's team. Obviously, that first time, that clip, what it didn't show is that she responded initially pretty empathetically. She listened to their concerns.
Yeah, she said this is to be fair, she said this is democracy and we're going to listen and
exactly.
You have the right to say
and then that clip that we saw was the second take where she said, look, I'm speaking. I think on Friday, a couple of days later, after getting feedback from those pro-Gaza protesters who felt maybe that she wasn't the most empathetic, we saw that recalibration of her really trying to show that she, and in a lot of ways, is empathetic and an advocate to some of the victims in that in that conflict. So I think that, yes, this administration has absolutely hoped that some solution would come. This administration has worked hard for a solution.
No, they put a lot of elbow grease in.
Whether or not that poses a threat to the DNC, I don't think that.
Yeah, the threat can mean a lot of different things, and also you have to wonder whether there's going to be a split screen, right, of whether when protesters shut down Michigan Avenue or I-95, I-94, or whatever it is, whether or not the networks take Kamala Harris's speech or Tim Walz's speech and put the split screen of the protest. Jeff, just from the White House perspective, how much arm twisting does the administration have left to try to get a deliverable before Monday?
I mean, I think that they're realistic about the fact that they don't have everything on board right now for a ceasefire. They want one. You're absolutely right to talk to Jasmine about trying to get one before the DNC, but I think they just would like to get one done before Election Day. Would have been great to have had it by now, but I can't tell you from my own reporting that there was any real optimism that this was going to be wrapped up by Monday. I do think that it's a liability. They see it as a liability.
You were on the road with Kamala Harris for 5 days. You were there when the sort of minor protests, and there weren't a lot of people, to be fair, in those crowds of 10,000 plus. There's 20, 30 people, max.
And I think that's actually a pretty important point to emphasize. The protests have gone down significantly since Vice President Harris took over at the top of the ticket. She's not being interrupted in her rallies the way that President Biden was. I mean, President Biden could barely get through a speech, including in what should have been a friendly audience in New York at the fundraiser that he did with Barack Obama. He was interrupted multiple times. I was there for that one, and that is not happening to her. In this one, in both the two clips that you just played, I think it's also important to note the protest stopped. I mean, the interruption stopped after she addressed it. Okay. She may have been a little bit sharper in that I'm speaking tone in that first one than she was than people really liked on that side. I can tell you that other people loved it.
Yeah, there was sort of a roar.
Yeah, I mean,
but in that second rally, she also she didn't have to say I'm speaking again because nobody interrupted her again.
Yeah.
Look, part of the problem for the Harris campaign of trying to create a presidential campaign in 10 days, to be fair, was the vet of Tim Walz, in so much as that they couldn't really dive fully into his background. Who knows whether they knew if this was going to come up. Assad Zaman is an imam in Minnesota who's had a history of very pro-Hamas statements, shall we say, seems to be a Hitler enthusiast, among other issues. And this is Tim Walz speaking about him. Take a listen.
I would like to, first of all, say thank you to Imam. I am a teacher, so when I see a master teacher, I know it. And over the time we've spent together, one of the things I've had the privilege of is seeing the things in life through the eye of a master teacher to try and get the understanding, listening today to the stories and what it means.
Leland, I have to say, I think that's really misleading that you just did that.
Okay.
I mean, I think it's unfair to describe him calling him a Hitler enthusiast and then playing.
He tweeted a video about Hitler.
And then playing. Yeah, but do you think Tim Walz knew that when he said he was a good teacher? I mean,
I don't know
that.
No, but we don't know that.
I also think that the campaign has come out and said that they don't have a personal relationship, right? So I think it is.
Hold on. Look, I'm happy to take it from both sides, but I'm going to defend myself. Okay, when Nick Fuentes, okay, which is another Hitler enthusiast, okay, went to Mar-a-Lago.
But I think
it was a story for days. Okay, well, this imam is not silent about his views, and he was a guy who was very, very happy about the October 7th attacks.
I think putting that together with the quote that you just played, we need to get some more information about what Walz knew when he said that.
What Walz knew and when he knew it.
Correct.
I think that's very fair.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.